Hi everyone, I'm Roz from Purify Festival and I'm here with Emma Sullivan, who is one of our amazing practitioners who joins us for lots of events. Unfortunately, she's not joining us this year.
No, sad time.
Really sad about that.
Next year, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But she's here with us today at the Dolphin Centre in Poole whilst we do some promotion and introduce people to some very short workshops, one-to-one therapies, and we're selling some tickets on site. So I wanted to talk to Emma today about how you got into this space.
Oh, okay. How long have you got? So I started reading tarot when I was about 16.
Wow.
So yeah, a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
I got my first tarot deck. Always been interested in spiritualism and alternative therapies. I was always the oddball that was interested in the spirit world and things like that. So I've always followed that in between corporate jobs and raising a family and life events. And then sort of the last 6 or 7 years, I've really followed my calling to pursue stepping, like coming out of my spiritual closet, helping people with tarot readings. But I've also trained as a hypnotherapist and a coach. EFT, I've done a bit of that. Done a little bit of, done a lot of Reiki healing. So a lot of stuff in the mix. And then finally, it's all sort of coming together as one service, should I say.
So does that mean that you're using kind of the spiritual stuff in your coaching sessions?
Yeah. So it has all amalgamated. So there was a time when I thought that we couldn't really mix the two because people that wanted coaching were more to do with like life coaching, mindset, not really so much the woo-woo side of things. But it's actually all the same thing. And I encourage people to get in touch with their higher selves rather than an external source or something else that's going to come and make them feel better. That's why I call my business Empowered Holistics. It's all about empowering you to go on your own healing journey. So I hold space for people to discover blockages themselves. So I just facilitate that via the medium of tarot. So yes, we use the spiritual aspect of it. So I get in touch with somebody's higher self. Also, I communicate with their guides in my own certain way. But really the focus is on uncovering blocks that or patterns that they might keep on repeating and not quite knowing how to break the cycle of things. So that's where I come in and help that.
Yeah, I suppose that's really difficult, isn't it? Because there can be so many different reasons why people have blocks. And it can be external factors, it can be internal factors, it can be things that have happened to them maybe in the past, or potentially things that they are just completely unconscious that they're not aware of. So talk to me a little bit about how you go about navigating that with a person and working out where that is and where the blocks are.
Well, it really depends where you are in life. And what's going on in life as well. You know, there's lots of people that reach a certain point in their life where, particularly women as well, where they perhaps have had children. And then the focus is coming back to them and they start to think about what's making them happy, what's been standing in their way, what have they been carrying and what blocks have they been carrying or trauma they've been carrying that they've never really had a chance to look at. Sometimes having children brings that to the surface. So I do a lot of work with women. It might be people that know what they need to get over or to heal from, but they just don't know how to go about doing it. Some of my work involves hypnotherapy and we do a little bit of past life regression, which is where some of the spiritual and that can be really helpful for some people, not for everybody. And it really depends on what your beliefs are. But I've seen it make some really big changes for people. So sometimes it's not about revisiting the past and bringing up stuff from lifetimes ago because we've got this life to deal with, you know. Like, looking at that, but also it can help you understand what your subconscious mind is carrying. Whether that's right or wrong, whether it happened or didn't happen is irrelevant. It's what's in your subconscious mind. So I help people dissolve that so that they can look to the future.
There's been a lot of research, hasn't there, around kind of epigenetics and that intergenerational trauma.
Yes.
So we can experience trauma that our parents and actually our grandparents and their parents have experienced, can't we? So there's been lots of research around this with people with really significant global events like concentration camp survivors and things like that. And then their children and the children's children. Obviously, there's some environmental stuff there, but there is, the trauma that can be carried through at a cellular level, isn't there? Is that something that you can help with?
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant.
Absolutely. And it's something that I learn more about it all the time. And it doesn't matter how much, how many certificates or courses or studying you do. It's not until you start working with people in a real life basis that you see some of the things that come through under hypnosis. Yeah, you're right. Epigenetics is massive. It's about how our thoughts, how our subconscious minds, how our programming as children and our pasts, what we're conditioned to, whether it's in this lifetime or has been carried through from lifetimes ago, can actually alter our DNA.
Wow.
Because there have been studies, where there's, families centuries ago that went through famine, say, for example, and were perhaps in a life or death situation, or would have been in a life or death situation, where they had to, where they weren't sure where the next meal were coming from. So it would have altered their DNA because they would have been programmed to be fixated on a lack, a scarcity, a fear, survival. So that can impact DNA. And I know there is a lot of research into that. I'm not privy to all of it, but I know I'm so interested in it.
Absolutely.
I think significant events like that and trauma that we carry in our subconscious that we don't process or deal with can most definitely be carried down the line.
I mean, this is so new, isn't it? There's so little out there at the moment, but there's so much work being done, in that space. That's amazing. So talk to me about 16-year-old Emma, because this is amazing. The things that you are doing now are amazing. The 16-year-old Emma picked up her first tarot deck and presumably you didn't know you'd be on this journey at that time.
Not at all. And 16-year-old Emma was a world away from the person that I am today. I was completely off the rails. I was a pretty troubled teen. I didn't have the most stable of upbringings, and I had to really stand on my own 2 feet and work out the world for myself quite a lot, like many of us. And I could have really gone down 2 different roads. So it is interesting. It's like a sliding doors type thing. About where you could be, but all of those things lead us to where we are today. Really or wrongly.
So young as well, at 16, to be able to, I suppose maybe hindsight tells you a lot of stuff, doesn't it? Be able to look back and say, I made some decisions then that really put me on a different path.
For sure. I think just going back to the tarot side of things, I grew up, so my mum and my grandmother were always into going to the spiritual church. They were always doing mediumship and the afterlife. It was just a common thing, really, that they would talk about. So I grew up around that. It was really the norm for me. So it wasn't really too woo-woo for me to start with tarot. But now looking back, I probably thought, it probably was quite unusual. I sort of fiddled with them, had a look, put them away. I couldn't really focus on one thing for too long, so I didn't really do much with it. But I used to just read for myself. And then I went on a whole journey of healing and found the tarot was really, really helpful and supportive for me. So get in touch with my higher self and just look. And it's also a moment of mindfulness, taking away all of the, the messages and the, all the stuff that's behind the tarot. It's also a moment of connecting within and having a look at the messages that come through and how we interpret them ourselves. So it's actually really simple. There's not too much. It is magic, but it's not at the same time. It's what's coming again from our subconscious.
I mean, I've had readings with you, and you use more than, you don't just read the cards, do you? You use, there's a lot of self care involved. There's a lot of, this is things that you can do to protect yourself and to look after yourself and be kind to yourself. Which, is that typical with other tarot readers, or is that something you've developed?
It's something. It's just something that comes through. I use the tarot as a therapy.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a traditional tarot reader where I'd say, like, in 12 months this is going to happen and you're going to meet somebody, with the letter N or something. It doesn't really come through in that traditional sense with me. I just get a message or a theme. It's a tool to tap into your energy field. But it will show me what's significant, what you're carrying at the moment, and what perhaps guidance needs to come through to you that day. And then I use that as like a therapy type thing, so that we can then look at how best to make decisions, how to look after yourself, how to break cycles, how to get in touch with you.
Presumably, doing that with clients a lot is going to fill you up with a lot of kind of vicarious trauma and a lot of carrying a lot of baggage for other people. What do you do? How do you look after yourself?
So I go kickboxing.
That's like the partner end of the spectrum.
I find for me, I have to use movement. I'm not like a gym bunny, and I don't really like running. I try and do it as much as I can, but it's definitely movement. I feel that we carry a lot of other people's stuff and our stuff within our bodies. Like they say, the body keeps the score. So not only our stuff, but other people's. As an empath, we've spoken about this before. How we take on other people's energy. If somebody's upset, we can feel it. So that happens a lot, because there's a lot of stuff that gets uncovered during my readings. So just make sure grounding is really, really important. Bare feet on the grass. Talking to other people, just about, to let go what's going on in my life as well. Exercise for sure, meditation 100%, and just loads of self-care. Just focusing on releasing, and that's when I do so I run moon circles as well, so once a month, so we'll focus on whatever needs to be released. But that's a really good way of doing it. Just
really good space for renewal, isn't it?
So lots of things.
Lovely. The modern world is a very difficult space for spiritualists. How do you find navigating that?
It's not easy, for sure, no. Especially being what we class as a highly sensitive person. I always felt from a young age that I didn't really belong here in this world. Sounds really dark. It's not. Lots of people do feel like that as well, that they don't really, and that might be because they associate with different places in the universe. There's that school of thought. But also because the modern world is really designed for us to live properly. It's not natural to live under stress, to be in a school system. Don't even get me started on that. And the school system where we're pretty told to conform. I mean, obviously we have to have that to a certain extent, but it's no good for our souls. And it's not really designed, the modern world, for the sensitive person. So I find it can be really, really difficult to navigate. Switching off the news, I have to do a lot. Sometimes it's really difficult, if a story grabs your attention, to read into it and get all of the information. But sometimes if you realise it's, those details aren't really serving you, they're actually just promoting fear. It can, so it's about creating boundaries, for sure. Boundaries about where you give your energy, who you spend your time with, not being a people pleaser and saying yes and worrying about keeping other people happy all the time. You've really got to focus on yourself. It sounds really selfish, but it's not at all.
It's really difficult to do as an empath as well, isn't it? It's one of those things.
It's a massive contradiction,
If you're forever feeling the pain of other people, and I mean the pain of the world as a collective as well. It's really hard not to try and heal that by fixing things for them, isn't it? So if you're filling your own cup, you're able to give much more, aren't you?
Absolutely. And when you talk about the pain of the world, I mean, what's going on in the Middle East at the moment, I find it really, really difficult to not look. I feel like I have a duty as a human to have a look at these things, but then it contradicts, there's a fine line between feeding it as well, and feeding and giving your attention to the negative all the time and not being ignorant to what's going on in the world. So it's hard. But the only thing that we can do is focus on our immediate surroundings and make a change in what we can make a change on, and help as many people as we can that are in close proximity to us, and that creates bigger ripples moving out into the world. That's what we've got control over. We don't have control over the wider picture, but our actions create ripples into the wider world.
Yeah, that's I'm a Buddhist, and that's a very kind of a very Buddhist kind of school of thought, is to focus on healing yourself, which in turn heals the world. It's about that.
So that selfishness isn't selfish. It's actually doing everybody else around you a service. Like we were talking earlier about our self-care, the choices that we make in our lifestyle, and how that has an effect on the people and our families around us. And how, going back to the generational trauma side of things as well, how we can, by changing the way we care for ourselves, creates that in other people, which then creates a domino effect. So everything we do for ourselves has an effect on our family. As well. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I suppose that's what we're about at Purify, isn't it?
100%.
Trying to introduce people to a space where they're able to explore different parts of themselves and work out what works for them. It's a healing space, isn't it? It's a place to make people feel good. And this is the community that we're a part of, isn't it? It's a place where we all come together and we all do that. So it's an absolute honour to have you a part of that.
Thank you. It's an honour to be part of it. You've created a beautiful space.
Thank you.
I'm excited for the future of where Purify Festival is going to go. I'm excited today. I was at the very first one. And people were just, really impacted in one way or another. The whole vibe was about connecting with people, like that proper, genuine human connection. Talking to people, no matter if you knew them or not, strangers connecting, people sharing their views and thoughts, and just raising the vibration and the frequency of the whole space. And I really felt that. So I'm honoured to be part of it. It's amazing. I'm so sad I'm missing that next month.
We're sad that you're not going to be with us, but ultimately there's so much happening in the future, isn't there? And we've built a community that can grow together, which is great. Kind of a final word for you. This is something that actually you're better qualified than most of us to share with people, but I like to ask people what their self-care hack is. So if you were to give advice to maybe some of your clients, your family members, or anybody that's watching this, what would be your self-care hack? And
hard to pick one. I think it changes as well at different points in your life, and I think different stages in your life you learn what your self-care priority should be for that part of your life. For this year, mine has been saying no. The power of no being a complete sentence. Not feeling I have to explain myself. And that's what I've been passing on to some of my coaching clients as well, having that strength and conviction. Sometimes we feel obligated to put other people's happiness before our own, and to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations that we actually want to say no to because it's easier. But it's not easier, because in the long term, you're the person that then has to carry that and process it and feel that resentment. So in order to avoid resentment for the future, if you listen to that niggle within your tummy, deep within your tummy, if somebody asks you a question, can you do this? Can you come here? Would you like to do this? Just say no. If you really don't want to, just say no.
Yeah.
It's been a real big one for me because I was always like, yes, and then think about it later.
Saying no improves your stress levels, in turn improves your health, improves your relationship to yourself, your own self-worth and self-respect, and your relationship with others.
Yeah. And also it helps other people with their self-care as well, because you empower other people to say no to things, and just to say, and just have strength in your conviction. If it's something you know you don't want to do and is not going to serve you and isn't going to be for your highest good or anybody else's highest good, you don't want to do it, say no. It's a complete sentence.
Yeah. That's it. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to, this is something that isn't aligned with me right now. It's not something I want to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Emma, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this space with me. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But really, thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing this space. Thank you for being a part of this community and to helping us build, and for everything that you're doing for the wider community as well.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to see where you go.
Love it. Thank you so much for having me.